Welcome to the CWC Podcast with your host, David Selby, Justin Reed, and Andy Horton.
All right. Hey, for those of you in the pavilion watching us today, we want to welcome you to Championship Sunday. This is the CWC Podcast. This is our pre-show. It's the last time we're going to get to talk to you directly before the 2025 National Championships are done, and we've got to wait another 365 to come back to it. I am here with my good buddy Shane Collins today. You may have seen him out here on top of this big rock announcing some races. You've probably seen him down at the rodeo arena. He's here every year. He's a big part of everything that goes on. Shane, how are you today?
Man, I'm just living the American dream. It's Championship Sunday. The weather's broke. We got cloud cover. Track looks good. Times are fast. We're just living it. Livin, living, man.
You know, you talk about the track.
Yes.
I mean, what a cool story this year to have this like historical situation where we're not going to be able to race them on Thursday and do the rookie race like we do every year. You know, if you would ask me Wednesday night, are they going to race them tomorrow? It's going to be dumping. There's going to be 10 inches of rain tomorrow. I said, yeah. I mean, that's what they do.
Well,
they race them.
That's what we don't get rained out. We get rained on usually. But when you look at 5 inches of rain over 24 hours, it was a safety for the animals. Yep. It was a good call. But yes, we were all on go already, and it wouldn't let up.
Yep.
You know, and probably the worst part of the storm happened during showtime. So we stretched it out 2 or 3 extra hours.
Yeah, and you talk about what the most important thing is down here after your guests that are here, and that is the Championship Chuckwagon Races. And, you know, if we can do anything to make sure that track is good to go, and if we know, like we've seen on the forecast, that by the time we get to Sunday, if we can wait 24 hours, if we can wait, heck, whenever it just stops raining, if we can wait that long, this track's going to be so much better, and we're seeing it. We saw the times go from Friday drastically improved to Saturday, and I've been down there talking to racers, and I mean, it's on their minds, and they know that today just gets a little bit faster.
Let's backtrack on that for 1 second. You know, Dan and Peggy, they have a wagon race, but they're also ranchers. They're stewards of the land. They know what it takes and how dry we were and how great this track could be, and they really did it. You know, it helped everyone. It was just a good call. It was for safety, and then, you know, we have the show aspect. They got to run hot, and yesterday they did. And today they're going to run it even, I think it's going to be 10 times faster. I mean, they were trucking yesterday.
Well, and, you know, go back to the things I would have probably put my money on. I wouldn't have thought that we were going to be 5 seconds slower based on what the track was like on Friday. But sure enough, yesterday we saw an incredible improvement in times. And I hear talking to racers, they talk about several things. They talk about how sticky it is. They talk about how they can get off the line. And it takes that much longer to get into that top gear. And then you hit the dip.
Yes.
And that dip, I've talked to several people that said when they get to that dip, when it's all sludgy and muddy and sandy,
they bog.
Yeah.
They bog. I mean, and it's just, you know, resistance. But if you look at the track today, man, the ground's got a little bit of moisture, but it's not wet. So when them hooves hit, they're going to be able to push, they're going to be able to pull, and they're going to be able to leave. Well, then you get, you know, into the last corner, which is Death's Corner is what I like to refer to it as, because it gets pretty western at that corner. But once you hit it, whenever you notice that, hey, we're sliding a little bit, but we're not completely fishtailing over to the side, at that point they can straighten out straight away. And, I mean, you look at our classics and our buckboards yesterday, we're running them 4 wide, and we're running them 4 straight to the finish line. Well, nobody's got a bobble. It's just through and through.
And they feel that track. These drivers, they know, they feel that track underneath their wheels. And you talk about, hey, am I going to shoot that gap today? Am I going to get a little bit close? Because there is normally a fishtail on these curves. And I think it's still it's hard down there, but I don't think it's quite as dusty as we've seen in years past. And so I think you're going to have just a little, call it a little grip, call it a little bounce. I think we're going to see the.
Well, here's what you need more than that. Your guys that are going to push and fill that gap, they don't care if it rained 29 inches or not, because they're cowboys. And what they're going to do, and we're going to talk about that later on, you know, we've got some heats that people, you know, my prediction to win it, which could be wrong. That's why it's called a prediction, and I've been wrong with most things that I've ever said on camera.
Yeah, but they'll forget all what we say later.
I mean, nobody will remember it. But you look at the professionals that have done it time and time again. You know, you look at Mark Ward and the Big Mules. It doesn't matter what he has to do to win. It just matters that he wins. Perry Murdoch, same way. We go to Ben Hartwick. You know, he's possibly in the Classics one of our fastest teams.
Oh, man, absolutely.
But we got to get an outrider with him, and everybody says, well, you know, I could do it better. Well, everybody's taking applications for next year, and there's not too many filling those applications.
Absolutely.
But your drivers are going to hit that gap. I mean, that, they're going to take that chance. That's what they do.
Yep, and you hear them talking about it down there, and there's a lot of pressure when you hit Sunday when hey, even if you have the best time, you don't get to relax today.
No.
Today, they know the track is faster. They know that everybody is out there. They're going to be shooting their very best shot today. And the other big factor that a lot of people don't think about is these guys move over a barrel each day they're down here. And so your starting position changes. That changes who's on the inside of the track versus who's on the outside of the track, who's a little bit further away from that dip. And when you look out across this field, you could probably see those starting lines behind us. Maybe I'm probably blocking them, but they go 1, 2, 3, 4 out away from the track. And when you get out there on that fourth barrel, you just feel like you're a little further from the dip.
Yes and no, but
you're on the inside of the track.
That's where I'm going to go with it. Everybody has which they would call their particular barrel. To me, if you're on the far outsides, if you're the furthest away, everybody calls that a disadvantage. Well, if you can circle it and you can drive them good enough, if there's a wreck, you can avoid it for the most part. You see most of our good wrecks, they're from an inside barrel or the farthest right. But you look at the guys that have the talent and the know-to, and look, accidents still happen. But a lot of times, on Sunday, how do you word it to where it's not always how fast you get across the line, it's who doesn't fail, because sometimes our fastest teams never have an outrider. So if they can avoid a wreck or they can check up just one tick of a clock and somebody can get on, they can get in a runoff, and then they can be crowned a national champion. Yeah,
and let me just remind everybody, when you're watching these races down here, it's not all about who's in first. It's about who's got a full second. Because there's a lot of judgment calls down here. There's a lot of things that we want to make sure that we compensate for at the end of the weekend, and we just like a little bit more sport if we can get it out of these runoffs. So if you're still within a second, what's the situation there?
One full tick of a clock. If they're not 1 second or more, then we have a runoff. We have human error. We have you name it. Anything can happen. Our girls are great, but we're all human. You know what I'm saying? And it gives everybody a fair shot.
Yep.
Because let's go, for example, let's go right to the land rush. Right now, if nothing changes, we're going to have 4 teams in a runoff that are within a half of a second, 0.5 of a second.
And I have to I think if you're within that second, you go. I'd have to double check on this because I've seen 4 teams in a runoff. I'm trying to remember if you're in 5, if there's 5 or more. I'm not sure how they do that if you're within a second.
I'm not sure either. I've yet to see that. But, hey, sometimes we learn as we go.
Yeah. Well, that's how we like to do it.
But I'm going to throw this out there. Look at this. When you talk about look away, you talk about out of nowhere and Campbell, that third gen, and say win. No strangers. No strangers. Say wins how many? I don't know how many times, but more than one and less than a dozen times as a national champion. The Campbell gang, they've always been one to contend with. Out of nowhere, kind of come on the scene, I think 2 or 3 years ago as a rookie team, and they've took that. Actually, that's Danny Fox. That's going to be out of Center Ridge, Arkansas. She's a kindergarten teacher here, in case you didn't know that. But look at that. And then look away. We've seen all of these teams before in a runoff.
Yeah, we're gonna see.
It's an eye fight.
I'll call it now. On a sprint like your Oklahoma Land Rush, more than likely you're going to see a runoff, and they run that same track that they always do when they get to that runoff. They run that sprint right across the field, and I'll tell you what, if I have to put my money on somebody, I don't want to pull up to that line across from Courtney Wilbanks and say a win because. She's been there. She's done it before, and she's probably smiling the whole way down the track, which scares you a little bit.
Well, and you take that back. So let's go. We've got, some rookie teams that are coming in here that have been in a runoff, but they've not been in 10 of them. Courtney knows how to keep her mind right, how to keep her ponies lined out. A lot of that it's just going to be in your mind because it's no different than breaking a barrier. Everybody knows they have to go. They have to be crossing that line when the gun goes off.
Yeah. Experience really does pay at Clinton, and I can tell you from going to all these association races, going to these outlaw races throughout the year, I see racers who are 100% the absolute guarantee they are going to do their job. They're going to be in the top 2. You're going to have an outrider that he's money. You put all your money on him, and you just know he's going to catch. It's not a question at all. Well, this year is just another example of when you bring somebody in like that you know is money, You bring them to Clinton, it's a little bit bigger. You got 4 wagons out there. You got 4 outriders out there. You got, 20,000, 30,000 people watching you. Everything changes, and I've seen these same people that I'm talking about come down here this year, and they've struggled, and they're confused. They're like, why can't I do it? and it's because it's just different when you get down here to the national championships.
Everybody wants to run with the big dogs, and then that's where you find out if you're bite or you're bark. Now, another thing is you might have to run with the big dogs for 3 or 4 years before you can, everybody's got their jitters. I mean, no different than rodeo. You look at rookies of the year, they get to the national finals rodeo, they've made $250,000 and they buck off 10 in a row, or they break the barrier on 3 in a row, or they split ahead on 3 in a row. It's just a different stage to play on.
It is. And let's move on here. And before we move on, I want to say go ahead and subscribe, relive the ride at chuckwagonchannel.com. That's where we do this podcast every week. We do that for you guys. We want you to see it. We want you to know what's happening in the sport of chuckwagon racing across all these other races, so that by the time we get here to Clinton every year, you kind of have an idea of what's going down there on the field. And so there's a lot that you can pick up there, including our documentary series, The Great Wagon Race. And if you know what it is, you know. And if you don't, you're really missing out, because we're in our 3rd season that we're shooting this week down here at the Bar OF, and it's going to be featuring the big mules, which we're going to get to them here in a minute. But there's a lot of excitement to catch on that show.
Best 11 you can spend in your life.
Oh, yeah, $11 a month.
It's very cheap. I mean, and they've got races from the past. They got the Pasture Open. We love it. I mean, it's probably it's pretty much the only thing we watch besides John Wayne movies. I mean, we absolutely love it. Let's go to the outriding side of that. We were talking about a half a second off. Well, let's go here where we're 0.3 of a second off. And there's some of these people that I don't know. You look at Sierra Myatt. I don't know her, but she apparently can flat out run one. So can Luke Dinks. But then you go to Linda Bailey. Know her. She's a horse trainer. Cowgirl. Very much cowgirl. We go to Ashton Nutt. She was from Batesville, now lives in Texas. Once again, cowgirl. Carter Griffin. The last name says it all. The Griffin, they're in the cattle business, they're in the livestock industry, and they are cowboys as well. So you're looking at 5 different contenders that are within 0.3 of a second.
Absolutely, yeah. And you look at these guys, and this is making me think about that runoff situation, because in any normal situation, let's say there's 2 teams within a second of each other, and we talk about going to that runoff. Well, what they do here at Clinton is they take the top 3 times. So let's say you're 2 seconds behind the leader, but you're the 3rd place person. Well, you earned yourself a spot in that runoff. And so at least on that side of things, I know how many are in there. And I actually think that, looking through these sprints here, I'm thinking they probably take 4 max. I'm betting you that's what they do.
Well, here's what I'm going to tell you. I don't think, and I could be wrong, but it wouldn't shock me if we don't have a runoff. It's Sunday, buddy. It's a new day. It's a new dollar. Well, anything can happen.
It's true,
and they could bust one in 9.8.
Well, I guarantee you the track will be faster. I do think our championship times will come out of today. I'll give you maybe one division that doesn't happen, and it's going to be because of circumstances. But I don't think it's because of that track. I think today's going to be the fastest day. Sierra Myatt here, she's at the top of the leaderboard.
Oh, she's tied.
She's tied.
It's a 2-way with Luke. Yeah.
Tied with Luke Dimps. I'm going to say Dimps.
Dinks.
I'm going to say it's a typo. It's Dinks. It's
Luke. Yeah, Mr. Luke. That's what we're going to go with.
They're tied with a 10-1, and I was down on the track yesterday, had the camera out, and I was talking to Sierra Myatt, and she rookied in. And I'll tell you what, a month ago, we were down there at Glen, Mississippi for the first ever Reggie Little Outlaw race, and she was out riding for it was probably a small mule team, I think, and she got on that outside curve. She went down. She hit her head. Scary moment. She was concussed, and a month later, she's rookied in, and she's at the top of the leaderboard on Championship Sunday. So, all that said, all that rookie stuff we just talked about and not having experience, well, she came in and she did it. I guess leave it to a woman. Leave it to a woman.
Well, we probably should have looked at day sheet number 2 before we jumped off of that boat. Let's go to the mule race. And I know, guys, we're kind of crunched for time today, and we do apologize for that. But hey, we've got an awesome pre-show, and if you guys don't show up, some of the best breakaway ropers in the world come from within a 30-mile radius of here.
I'm glad you said that.
And we want to talk about Miss DeSalvo. Well, growing up, we're about the same age. We watched her rope, and possibly, and I'll just go out and I'll say it, I think as far as a woman, I'm not saying that begrudging, she's the best that has ever swung a rope She could go to the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo, and she could collect money.
Yep.
And she's the highest numbered heeler in the world, I mean, as far as a woman. And the BFI's been good to her. The U.S. Open Finals have been good to her. And I wouldn't say that they've been good to her because she's just that good.
Yeah, she's been good to them.
Yeah, I mean.
All right.
Mule race.
Mule race. If you know who Braxton Barnes is.
Yeah, he was 84.5 opening weekend of our junior rodeo we had. I'm talking about he spurred him to the left, he spurred him to the right, and he even had the Longo one on Monday night.
He might be the real deal is what you're saying.
No, I'm not saying he might be. Might's for somebody that it might happen to occasionally. It happens to Braxton Barnes every day because he's that good.
Well, and if there's one thing you can read on these times, when you look at Friday a 47.4 beats a 48.2, that's Braxton Barnes. He raced and he won. Guess what happened yesterday? 46.7 beats a 47 flat. That's Braxton Barnes. So now we know this kid can race.
All he's got to do is keep him behind him.
He's keeping him behind him, and that's all he's got to do today.
Watch him whenever he gets on his mule's actually broke. And I don't say that in a rude way. I mean, mules have a mind of their own. And there's some great ones out there. But when he gets on his, he just goes point A to point B. There's nothing extravagant about it. And he's doing it at a high rate of speed. And he's just smooth fast.
Absolutely.
That's what Danny would say.
I'm putting my money on Braxton today, and I'll tell you what, we go into the 4-up mules, and here's where we're seeing these wagon teams that actually have to go out there and run the track. These guys run the short track, but we saw a substantial shift in the times going from Friday to Saturday, and I was telling you, I didn't think I'd see a 5-second jump, but you know what? Hickory Plains Outlaws, they were 56-1 on Friday, and they were leading it. Yesterday, they come out and run a 52-7. Second place coming out of Friday was a 59, and so
difference.
You see these times dropping. Substantially. And my money was on Mount Vernon Mulemen coming into the weekend, and you know what? They ran the fastest time on Friday, but they didn't get an outrider. So there's the factor that seems to what it boils down to a lot of times is that outrider. But come into Saturday, Hickory Plains Outlaws, they run a 52-7. They're leading it by a couple seconds, folks. There is not a runoff right there right now, and that's maybe one division.
We can recap on his outrider once again. Whenever they circled, he was on, and he had him caught by the Oklahoma land rush line. If you get a guy that can do that consistently, and apparently he can, it's hold on to him.
Yep.
Tie him up to a water heater and wait till next year because you're going to need him again.
Yep. And you got Sue's Pond behind them. You got Mount Vernon Mulemen.
Sue's Pond's been running for a long while. I mean, once again, there's where you take back. They have the experience.
Absolutely.
Let's go. Well, let's just hit on the pasture open real quick, and I would
give me
like
a couple of highlights there.
Well, it was just a good open. I mean, it was wild and it was western and it was fun. That's it. We're going to go to our champions of our short go, and we're going to talk about Travis Hall in a little bit, and he would get plumb mad if I said this. The best roper I've ever seen in my life. And he can go anywhere in the world and he can win. I don't know how many times he's won locally and, when U.S. Opens and stuff, but on a Cheyenne run, he got all the way to the final round of Cheyenne Frontier Days. I think he won day money at Ogden, won a match open while he was there. And then we go to Sweden, Sweetie Pie. I tell you, that kid right there is 100% cowboy. It doesn't matter. He can ride bucking horses. He can outride. He can run a team. And he can rope. I mean, he lives it every day. He's a horse trainer, and we go back on the roping side, X Factor roping. He took home a pretty big check earlier in the season, in futurity, and just good cowboys.
You talk about experience where good is great, but great, it's always good.
Yeah.
And he's an example of that.
Always remember this too: you can do all the preparation in the world and have a bad day.
Absolutely.
And so it doesn't matter how good you are. Bad things can happen, and and Lady Luck can be sweet and kind, and it makes it full circle. That's part of it. It's called luck of the draw for the reason. Let's go to buckboards real quick once again.
This is where it gets exciting, folks.
Well, this is where feelings get hurt, and I hope that I'm not that guy. That's your job.
And that's why we brought you on. You got to say this stuff.
Well,
not me.
Well, I don't know about that, but let's just recap on this. Full throttle. Awesome.
I don't know. Let's rewind a year on that. Do you remember what happened last year? We go to a runoff on a championship Sunday. It's full house. It's Bar H Ranch and Rodeo. It's Full Throttle Loca. This year, Bad Company is back in the mix. We know Cameron Martin had a little job change. He's at home more. He's getting to work those ponies. But I'll tell you what, Full Throttle Loca gets beat by a nose last year. and they are out for redemption. They are on their redemption tour, if you will.
Yeah.
And sure enough, yesterday they came out and they got that they are in first place. There is not a runoff right now. And Full Throttle Loca has it by about 2 seconds almost, and we're saying 51.7, which that's what I was waiting to see yesterday as that track got a little faster.
Let's regroup. And I know, Andy, we're trying, buddy. We're trying. We both love our jobs.
We got to be done at 11, right?
We have to be done before 11 or I'm going to get fired. You look at Triple J, Tater, he knows about it. You look at Derrick Hands, they know about it. You look at Bad Company. I'm not trying to mix friendships with reality, but I'm going to say this much. The Denny Flynn of wagon racing has got to be Cameron Martin. He's been to the big show more times than anybody else. He's been in more runoffs, had the worst luck that you could ever imagine never to win a national championship.
He is due.
But he's younger. He's got the want to. And, Bar 8 Ranch and Rodeo isn't in the mix right now, but I wouldn't count Brent Henderson out.
Oh, no. Anybody in those last 2 heats.
Yeah, that's a free-for-all. We go to the Classics, it'll be the same thing. Anybody could win. It's just, once again, luck of the draw. Is Lady Luck going to be sweet and kind, or is everything going to line up?
Well, and we told you. So, yeah, we've got a 51.7 leading it here, but let me just tell you about a couple of these times that didn't get a qualified time yesterday because of maybe it was an outrider.
Or a box or a stove, and I've seen them.
And we got a little bit sideways. Guess what? 51.2. That's faster than our leader. Bad Company, like you just said, 51.6. So they know that they can get around the track fast enough, but can they do it with an outrider?
That's where it's going to go because, Bad Company's outrider caught Friday. Everything looked good. Yesterday, we kind of had a little debacle at the starting line. Everybody's seen it. It's part of life, and he understood it. But how can he shake it off? But you're right. There is other contenders. But today, it's not only, once again, how fast you can cross the line. It's keeping an outrider in front of you.
Yep. And I don't want us to go further without mentioning Brad House with Full House.
Brad's a heck of a guy. And I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know how we forgot him. That dude out there can drive.
We're just excited.
Oh, well, and that we're in a time crunch. But no, Brad's a great person. He's a great racer.
And he's won it 3 times in a row.
Yeah, I was about to say, and then he's done it 3 times in the past. So
4 out of 5, I think, if I remember right. He's won 4 out of 5, and he was there yesterday. But if you were watching that race closely, when they got into that first curve, you get past that dip, and they were bunched up.
They looked like hornets trying to get out of the nest is what they looked like.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it was. Let's go. And I hate to rush this, but let's go to Big Mules.
Yep. And a reminder, we're featuring the Big Mules, the stories that are happening there. We're featuring that on Season 3 of the Great Wagon Race, and it goes a lot deeper than what you're seeing out here on the track. We're going to peel those layers back whenever we get into our show.
So we're looking at Desperados, too, with a 41-8. All right. Out of Control with a 43-7. Whiskey Throttled with a 44. Those are contenders. If they're in the last 2 heats, don't count them out. Yesterday, we've seen a lot of good racers that got caught in traffic. Once again, barrel roll.
Yep.
Today's their day for everybody else to get caught in traffic. And I could be wrong, but I think on this Dumb and Dumber, they started on the outside barrel, if I'm not mistaken. They went in. Now they're kind of going to be at the first 2 barrels, which when you're heading up a mountain, that's where you need to. Yeah. That's where you need to be,
Yeah, I want to say they're on 2 today.
Yes.
2 or 3. I think they're on 2.
But when they spin, they got 1 straight shot. They know how to drive them. Ben Hartwick is either going to be there or carried out in an ambulance. We've seen it before. There's not an in-between. You know what I'm saying? He's going to go.
Well, you talk about a surefire candidate.
Well,
he's going to,
and then you look at Hee Haw. Hee Haw's, man.
They blasted out of there yesterday.
They were, everybody's pushing. But if you're not pushing, you're not winning. It's that simple. If you're not busting a barrier, you're not winning.
Well, and this is an important thing that we mentioned Hee Haw Express, because Hee Haw Express, so we don't see them up here at the top of the leaderboard from yesterday because they didn't have an outrider. But you know what? We have a national leader right now with a 41.8. We wouldn't even have a runoff if Hee Haw got an outrider yesterday. That's how big of a deal that was. And they ran a 40.2. So you got to watch out for that team. And I'll tell you what else. We are in a runoff at this time because Dumb and Dumber, you talk about mud and you talk about all the problems of the track on Friday. Well, Dumb and Dumber ran a 42.3. After that 41.8, we're a half a second. And so that means we're in a runoff as it stands right now. And
I'm telling you, you say that, but you get down to you just watch the first 3 or 4 go. I think we're going to blow the times from yesterday out of the water.
Well, we've seen it.
Yes, and we're going to.
We're going to go below 40. I think that's what's going to happen. We're going to go below 40 seconds. And I wouldn't be surprised if more than one team does it. And I kind of hope we see a runoff in this division.
Let's go to the Snowy River race real quick. Wyatt Hughes, he's left him standing. He knows how to stand one up when he gets to the river. He knows how to beat him, and anything can change. But right now, once again, if he keeps everybody behind him, he's looking at 212.
Yep, and it's been a while since we've seen. It's not every year that we're seeing these guys get down closer to that 2-minute mark. Some years are different than others. This year we've got a serious group out there, and I was standing down there when they come across the middle of that field. I was standing down there with a camera yesterday, and they're running with fire in their eyes, and they've got the horses to do it. And I bet you we're going to see a good race today, because the people that are behind him, they're 4 seconds, but on a 2-minute and 12-second race, you can make up a little bit more with that much time. Let's push to the classic here.
All right, so when we kick it off, I'm going to start by this. You want to talk about a dreamer and a hope. Look at this. If Kind of Stupid had, I don't know if it was an outrider infraction. I'm going to go under the assumption because it's the common denominator of a long average here. Yep. They would have been 1 minute flat and a tenth of a second. That would have us completely out of a runoff. Yep. You cannot count these guys out. And I truly say that because you look at that last 2 heats. There's nobody that's in those last 2 heats that doesn't deserve to be there.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a reason they're there.
Yep.
And, sometimes Sunday is the wake-up call for these guys, these outriders that can't get on. They realize this is my last shot, and they take that, we give them a hard time, but they really do have a hard job. I mean, we make it sound like they're just lazy and they don't do anything, but we'll all agree they've got a really hard job.
Oh, my gosh, yeah. And I'll tell you what, we got to say, Kind of Stupid, they shoot that second, or 0.1 of a second off a minute. And I'll tell you what, based on previous year's times, we know that the track record is a 57.3 posted by Andrea Frelix last year with B&B Farms. She's cooking this year for Gerald Burkhalter. I think they're in the last heat. And so we're seeing a lot of these teams that have won it before, that have been under a minute mark before. We know that that's coming today. It's happening. It's going to happen. We're going to be under a minute. It's just who's going to get the outrider, who's going to be up there in the front. And if I had to place a bet, I'd probably say we're going to have a runoff at some point today. As of right now, we have a runoff, but it's just too fast. It's too fast right now, especially with a team like Kind of Stupid coming out of it's not even the last 2 heats. They're in 6 or 7 or something.
Yeah. They're in the middle of the pack. They're a sleeper.
Yep.
They're sleepers, what they are. Yeah,
and if
absolutely.
they get a good barrel, if they get off their barrel, and they get to have an open track, that's a way different story than these guys that are all running for that minute mark, and they all can do it. They've all got the horses and the drivers to do it, and we're going to have to see how it shakes out. That's all I can say.
And we're going to go, and this could be, somebody will have to fact check this one. But we go to the Pink Poodle. I don't know who's won more national championships than anybody else, but I know Ben Hartwick's got a small
trophy case.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even say a small trophy case, about the size of y'all's production trailer full of national championship buckles. He's driving.
He's driving.
And he can drive.
Yep,
the outrider, Friday was there. Yesterday it wasn't. Once again, Raptor G's always been in there. We go to Kansas, Dizzy D. When have they not been a contender? Yep. They've always been a contender.
Yep.
Fush Mountain Ranch, been doing it for 40 years. So when people want to talk about experience, let's go to one of the originals.
Yep, John Yates.
Yeah, the Wagon Master.
Oh, man.
It's just, I would never count out of Yates.
He could probably do it with some mules if he had to. He is a
driver. He could do it backwards.
Yeah, he could.
He could do it backwards.
I bet he could.
With a set of Shetland ponies.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. John, you owe me dinner next time you see me.
Me too. We agreed on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're looking. It's going to get under a minute today. I guarantee it. They're about to get these races started. I think we timed it perfectly. So Shane, thank you so much for being here on the show.
I tell you what, thank you for what you've done for the sport of wagon racing. You've showed it to so many people that don't know, and we're blessed. We're blessed. Keep doing what you do and show it that this is the way of life that everyone needs to live.
Thank you. And thank you for your support. Thank you for your support, everybody else out there. Remember, chuckwagonchannel.com. Relive the ride. You're going to see all these races on there. It's all going to be on there in a couple of weeks. We've got a lot of good stuff to show you. We are looking forward today, Championship Sunday, to seeing you out on the track.
Thanks for listening to the CWC podcast.